Hi, my name is Kirk Hamilton. This is the Staying Healthy Today show, and this is a show where we go over health topics that deal with the individual, society, the world, and usually it deals with nutrition, prevention, and integrated medicine. So today, I thought I would take an expert on motorcycles and motorcycle riding, and I was embarrassed because I didn't know if it was MotoGP that I was watching every weekend at your place, but they're athletes, and maybe you can speak about how athletic they are and maybe what they have to do to stay in shape.
Yeah, the guys
For
nowadays, it's kind of been a very evolutionary process from back in the day. I know that the old riders a long time ago, Barry Sheen is a famous British champion who actually took a drill and drilled a hole in his helmet so that he could hold a cigarette in his mouth at the starting line. And so totally different. So the thought of a MotoGP rider nowadays smoking a cigarette on the starting line, it's just crazy, right? And then I know World Superbike champion Colin Edwards, when he was in World Superbike and in MotoGP, he never did any training whatsoever. And he even talked about, and you hear stories more in World Superbike, it's more of a close-knit community, which that's a world championship too. But the guys, after the races on the weekend, they would get together and they would all get hammered. It was like they would legendary Sunday night, get just completely wasted in the paddock together and do wild stuff, and the whole teams, all the teams and stuff. So it was just a big party on Sunday night. Then they would all load up hungover on Monday and fly back or fly to the next destination. So MotoGP riders do not do that kind of stuff at all now. Now they're cyclists, they have trainers, they have dietitians, they are cutting weight or gaining weight depending on what the needs of the motorcycle and the team are. So yeah, it's way different now. A lot of your MotoGP riders, your modern era ones, are friends with people who are professional road cyclists from their country because they ride bicycles so much. In the off season, bicycling and motorcycle racing have the same off season, so you'll see photos of professional road racers or professional motorcycle racers at training camps with professional cycling teams to build up their endurance for the racings.
well, from you ride. Where is it? Is it stamina that helps you remain focused, or is it just the athletic ability to move the bike?
No, it's definitely the stamina that makes you stay focused. So I noticed that late in the summer when I'm doing my track days, when I've been riding my bicycle and the weather's really hot, you're out there and the track surface temperature is probably 120 degrees sometimes. Toward the end of the day, I'm still focused. I'm making less mistakes. I'm one of a handful of people that are still out at 4 p.m. riding when most everybody has quit around 2 o'clock, because the heat has just gotten to them so much. So I find I get better value toward the end of the year at track days that I do around, August and September because everybody else is just worn out. Yeah.
So, do you do some training before you ride, or are you just
Well,
doing it
I
for
ride my
life?
bicycle. I've started lifting weights. I started lifting weights because I've been having back problems, but not specifically for motorcycle stuff. But yeah, it helps. It all helps. But yeah, I ride. That's why I ride my bicycles. That's why I try to ride my bicycles at least 3 times a week.
Can you explain the difference between, you said MotoGP and then Superbike? Are they the
Mm-hmm.
same thing?
MotoGP is like Formula One. It's prototype motorcycles. So it wouldn't be. It's not something you can buy off the shelf. Whereas World Superbike would be, I guess, more similar to, say, if there was an international NASCAR series where the motorcycles are based off vehicles that you can go into a dealership and buy off the showroom floor. A BMW, a Ducati, a Honda, Yamaha, that kind of thing. But they're modified within the rules of the series in order to be more raceable and just more raceable and set faster lap times. You can do certain modifications. You can change brake rotors, but they still have to be ductile iron or steel. You can change suspension components, but they still have to be by the same manufacturer. It's things like that. Like the rules are, but whereas MotoGP, you can do whatever you want. The rules are way more wide open.
I think one thing that always fascinates me about the sport, and you'd always ask, is like, number one, there's two things. One, how does the bike stay up when it's like it looks like this and their knees down? And two is, how often do people really get hurt in this sport? Because
all the time, people die. The motorcycles are able to corner so low because of the grip level of the tire. So you're forcing the motorcycle into the ground at an angle, but the tires are what the grip level is there on the side angle of the tire. And so the motorcycle's pushing into the ground, pushing into the ground. And that's a very difficult time for the motorcycle. And that's what they spend the majority of the time trying to engineer, is making the motorcycle go over bumps and behave predictably when it's at such extreme lean angles. But it's all down to the tires. It's the grip level of the tires. The grip level of the tires now is just phenomenal. It's amazing what they can do with the tires. But we've got the number one guy from last year. He switched from Ducati to Aprilia, and he in the first outing, the first testing, he did something like 15 laps and then had a major crash on a brand new motorcycle. Hasn't been back on the bike since. Rejoined MotoGP last weekend, finished the sprint race on Saturday, and then Sunday he crashed in front of another rider who hit him with his front wheel, and the guy's in hospital now in Qatar for 2 weeks before he can even leave the hospital. So, and that's the champion from last year. So, people get hurt all the time. People die. Yeah. They're riding on the absolute limits of what those bikes and tires can do. And so just the small mistake can be catastrophic.
Right. How long is the average race? I mean, how long are they up riding a bike, generally speaking?
Last weekend they did 22 laps, and I think the fastest lap was around 153, 154 was a fast late race lap. So what's that? Essentially 2 minutes, 20, so about 45 minutes.
Is that an average race, an hour ballparkish, or?
Yeah, around 45 minutes. Yeah, just a sub hour. Yeah.
Sounds like almost like a sprint.
Well, the sprint race is actually 10 or 12 laps, and they do that on Saturday, and that's a real sprint. But no, 45 minutes riding at the level that they do is extremely difficult. I mean, they're riding 100%, and the forces on the body, it's crazy. Ben Spies was a great American champion who he injured his shoulder in a crash, and he was never the same after that, because the braking forces on the MotoGP bike, they have carbon fiber rotors with special, everything's special on the bikes, right? And so the braking forces are the G-force when you're braking is so hard that his shoulder injury kept him from being able to hold himself up under braking. And so he was never the same guy after that shoulder injury. So
is there an age limit or when bikers start to fade off into the sunset, or just skill?
It's all different. I mean, it's all different. I mean, you look at, I wanted to write an article years ago with the help of a neurosurgeon friend of mine about, the speed of neurofibers. And so, basically if you read any articles or they talk about it, it's really like when they're so really all motorcycle racing is getting through corners. Like, it's just getting through corners as fast as possible. It's corners divided by straightaways, right? So straightaways, no problem. So it's getting into and out of the corner as quickly as possible. So when they're in one corner, they're not thinking about that corner. They're thinking about the next corner. And they're already doing things with the motorcycle to prepare it for the next corner as they're coming out of the corner that they're in. So they're going so fast, and their thought processes and their reaction times are such that you have to be preparing for what's ahead while you're in the moment, if that makes sense. And if you're doing everything right, you make it all the way around the track without falling down. So at some point, yes, age is a factor, because those neurotransmittals, but from the brain to the fingers that control the brake lever or control the throttle, are going to slow down. And as they slow down, that reaction time increases. And as reaction time increases, then those microseconds where you can make an adjustment here to either be prepared for the next corner or save a crash gets more and more, right? More and more likely that you're going to have a crash or you're not going to be competitive through the next corner. So yeah, so age does, but it's different from everybody. As you know, the aging process is different for everybody. So
yes, we know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, lastly, how long you been riding? Any motorcycle?
47, 47 years now.
So that means you started when you were
4. Yeah.
Who got you started? Your dad?
Kids across the street. But my dad, my dad had motorcycles and stuff. Yeah. At one point he was like, well, if you can get the bike in the shed running, you can have it. And I was like, okay. So I pulled it out of the shed, pushed it across the street, and my friend and his older brother helped me get it, clean the carb and get everything running on it. And he came home from work and I was riding laps around the house. And I was so small, I had to like stop and jump off the motorcycle. And then to get it going, I could barely get it to kick, but I had to get on the side of the bike and put all my weight on it to kick it, and then let the clutch out, and the bike would start moving, and I'd run alongside and jump on it because I couldn't touch the ground. I couldn't even lean on it. I wasn't strong enough. If I leaned it over, the bike would fall over because my legs were so short. So I started when I was little.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving me that education on the fitness, the skill of the sport that I know you love because I've seen you watch it. So thank you very much.